Am I on up here? If you don't mind, I'm not going to stand up there. I tend to wander and I fall off stages, so that's not a good thing. Thank you for allowing me to come here. Most of the people, you were on the technology side that everybody knows. When you turn down the Hampton inside, it's the great abyss. Nobody knows that's technology. So you'd say technology and we would get calls and they said, I've been going up and down that road and up and down that road. I can't find you. And they've never crossed over the road to where the Hampton Inn was. So anyway, thank you for letting me speak. In 2002, I had been working with churches that had someone in their a family that had someone who had special needs. So for the longest time, I felt like God called me into the church work. That's what I call it. My dad is a pastor, and his whole life was a pastor. So I was going to be in the church. And what I found out is that the church is sometimes very rigid in its thinking. It wanted you operate on Sundays and you operate on Wednesday nights and maybe a special thing. And so I began to get this real burden that there are people with disabilities who are going nowhere Monday through Friday. So what if I just decided that Monday through Friday was my ministry and let the church handle the Sundays and the Wednesday nights and stuff like that? So anyway, we'll start. I love this. We talk to volunteers. I mean, churches, we depend on volunteers. But I love this one. So you're looking to do some volunteer work. You can begin by volunteering to take out the trash. There's a lot of simple things that we don't do. We look for these grandiose things that we do in life, and it's got to have so much meaning. One of the most fun that I have is that, 3 or 4 years ago, I got this idea. So when I'm in the parking lot of BJ's or somewhere, I just start kind of cleaning up the carts when I'm leaving. I just kind of straighten them up and stuff. So now I'm supposed to know when you open and close, are there any sales? Everybody thinks you're an employee, and it's so much fun because I think, we expect someone to be paid. When we serve, we expect someone to be paid. Our organization doesn't pay. Our adults, we have adults from 19 to 62 now who come to our program. We have 30 adults. We can probably go to 45 in the building that we're in now. And they do community service is one of the biggest things. We learn to be independent, but God created us not only to be independent, but to serve others. And so that other part doesn't usually come out in there. So let me introduce some of the things that we do. We're going to try to slip through this. We moved to the Lord of Life Lutheran Church. If you're familiar with Garner, it's right next to Lake Benson Park. Could not have been a better place to move. We looked out in this area over and over and over. We very much did what you did. Our space was smaller than yours, but we were on technology. We had to take some walls out. We had to do some painting. We had to do some changing and stuff. Well, it was only 1,400 square foot total. This building is 3,600 square foot, and we have 4 classrooms. Every classroom has a bathroom. Every classroom has a closet, the things that we needed for our folks. So we were very fortunate that came up. Now, I thought that our reno days were over. When we got in that building, the preschool being in there 21 years, the children really did use that building well. So we spent 5 weeks renovating that building. So as we came in, we had fresh paint, we had new cabinets, we did those kind of things, and it was an amazing outpouring of the community who made that happen. We probably had $1,000 of our money into all that upgrade. And the real estate guy said, you did about $20,000 on that building. So it's all about the community coming together for the greater good. And we've got to start doing more partnering in ministry together. We do other things, and we want our hands in. We want that cross logo. The funny thing is that people say, I'm pretty sure you're faith-based. Yeah? Do you think that big cross you see on it? Yeah, I think we are in there. But we moved there, and it was just a wonderful thing. This church is mostly senior adults. So as soon as we came in, we began helping them with different things, like they have a part-time secretary. So we always do the bulletins. We staple the bulletins and put those things in. We go in and help with cleaning up and straightening up the pews. If they do anything for missions, we're a part of it. We gather things for them. So we just became a part of their church. We didn't want them. In fact, I told the pastor, I said, if you want us to be a charity, we're not the right person to come into your building. We don't want you to be a charity to you. We want to serve you as much as you serve us. And that's what we do. So we're very proud of our new location. We have a day program. So we're there from 9 to 3. Obviously with our parents, some of our younger parents, both parents work. So we have people who come in sometimes as early as 7. Cody, his parents work at the same place. So there's sometimes that I meet up at the building and they drop him off at 6. So we have different times. We don't do any of this, you've got to be there at 9 and you've got to pick up at 4. That doesn't work out really well for everybody. We have continuing education. We do life skills. We're out in the community. If you've ever said, I've asked people before in the churches, I said, do you see people in your church with disabilities? And they go, no. I said, well, where are they going to church? Well, God has a church I know in this community that does it. Where is it? Well, I know He's doing it. Well, I agree, but where is it? Nobody knows. Well, do you see our folks in the grocery store? Not really. Where are they? I mean, don't you think they should be shopping? Why aren't we seeing them more in the places that we go in there? So we do a lot of community events, dances, things that we can bring people in. Go ahead and turn. This is the Joy class. We have 2 different classes, the Joy class and the Peace class. Now, most of the Joy class are younger, the Cody, and we call it Joy because they are so high energy. We're trying to find a way to get that to inject in some of us older folks so that we would have that kind of energy. And then we have the Peace class, which is usually our older folks in there. What we've done is we've actually integrated those 2 classes. We've seen this wonderful maturity coming into our younger guys, and we've seen this joyfulness that's getting into our folks that are a little bit older. So it's a really fun idea that we started off integrated. We moved to the building, and then since we had 4 classrooms, we started separating the ages, and now we're bringing them back together. But it's mostly on needs. We do a lot of shopping in the grocery stores. We do a lot of cooking together. The idea is that we're doing it at our place so that you go home and do it. You do it in your church. So we don't want you to just do it at Able to Serve. A lot of friendships. We have a washing machine and dryer. The funny thing is the parents seem to be really giddy about us doing this life skill. Their faces changed when we said once we've trained them, they take the laundry at home. They do their own laundry at home. We're going to learn to do it here. It's like, gosh, I thought y'all were going to start doing our laundry thing. So anyway, but they fold towels. You know, that we started off with towels and washcloths. You have to remember our folks are learning levels are maybe kindergarten through 4th grade at the top. So a lot of what we have to do is modeling. We have to do a lot of repetition, and towels seem to be a really good start with because they fold the same way, the colors and things we can do in that. We do a lot of shopping. We go to plays. We get them out in the community. You wouldn't believe how many of our folks had never really been out with their peers. We take that for granted. And I'm just used to going and being with my friends, but most of the time they were with their parents. Well, if they're 35 and 40, it's about time they could do something outside of just mommy and daddy. So we do a lot of that. And you wouldn't believe how much of the learning curve is for them to know how to socially be out. You know, it was herding cats there at first. And usually with the younger ones, that's what it is. I mean, they've never been anywhere without their mom and dad. So even at 22, 25, when we would go places, it would be a struggle to help them understand standing in line, you know, how we greet other people. Our guys are big huggers, and so whether you want one or not, so we had to teach that, you know, it was kind of a receptive hug. You had to kind of want to hug. You didn't just go hug. That was a big thing. We have a new vehicle now. We had both of our vehicles, the van we got used and it's still on the road, and it's a 1999 model. And we have a bus that we currently are selling, but we got that bus free, and then the prodigal son, we had to turn that boy back into a decent vehicle. But with transportation, with us going every day, 31 participants in our program, none of them have a license. If we did not provide the transportation for where we were going, we couldn't do what we do. We had one of the highest compliments from even a government agency that said if we could get the places that we put hundreds of thousands of dollars in that would invest in going in the community and being a valuable part of the community like you do, we would be doing something really well. So we just pull their money. We don't take government money. We don't take it because if we want to do a Bible camp, God told us to do a Bible camp, we did it. Nobody else tells us we can. That's just how we do things. We love our country, and we talk a lot about God and country, and I'm not going to offer an alternate class because that's what sometimes government money wants you to do. 90 cents out of every dollar goes to our program. So when you see things going on, we have an enormous amount of monies that goes back into our program. Our parents do pay, and we used to do free. Here's the problem. I have no investment. I have no skin in the game. So people who used to come to our program, if we had a cookout, they were all there. If we had a speaker, most of them were there. If we had something that was very educational and very good for them to learn, we had a third of our people there. When we started putting skin in the game, it was different. Here's the thing. Every one of our families, what it costs us to do the program, they pay about 40% of what it costs for us to do the program. And the wonderful thing is, it's such a ministry that we had one mother last year who went through cancer treatments, and they paid nothing till she came out of cancer treatment and went back to work. I had another parent who was kicked out of their house because their husband ran off and had not paid the rent, and they got displaced for a year. They didn't pay any program fees. So people say, well, I can't believe you charge. Our parents know that, number one, they're getting double their money. Once you're in our program, you don't pay for bowling, museums, outings, cookouts, or none of that thing. You pay that one so that you can budget your money. But they also know. The most wonderful thing was one of our parents said, when I called you, really embarrassed that my husband had done that to me and we were getting kicked out of the house, I knew my son Tony was still coming to that program. I had no doubt that our Able to Serve family was just going to keep us coming. Everything else in Tony's life was going to be upside down for a while, not able to serve. So we do charge program fees in there. And we'll skip past that. There's people ask about compensatory ed. Every one of our classes we have touchscreen computers. We do a lot of education. Compensatory ed now has changed, and so if you're an adult with disabilities and going into compensatory ed, you have to test to get in, and they have to test to make sure that you're making progress. I have people who started with me across the technology abyss in 2004, and they're still with us. So you don't graduate out of ours. We're all about relationship. I love this idea of find the way that it's community and the relationship you're building. Folks that come into our program, we say, you come into our program one time as a speaker, volunteering, and you're just family. You're family. We want to know about you. We want to pray for you. We want you to just keep up with us because we're going to pray for you. And heaven forbid if you're on Facebook, I have several of my folks that just know how to wrangle all that stuff. So you're going to have a friend who's going to be praying and bringing up things if you put anything on Facebook. So we have a pretty long prayer time now because of the people who bring stuff up. I always say as a child, there's usually a good and bad choice. I have an 8-year-old that we adopted our son when he was a day and a half. And he's still in that point where I have to give him one good choice and one bad choice. We get to be adults. There's usually several good choices, but there's one best. We want them to live life at their best, and we want them to know that God didn't create them as a mistake, that God didn't give them no talents, or that people are there to depend on everybody else. They depend on God and God's people. That's how it works. And so it's fun to watch our folks walk around really excited about the things they're doing in our community in there. We do a lot of things. This was Geek Squad brought Fitbits, and we walked around. We talk a lot about health. The Bible camp, we bring youth in so that our youth can interact. It is an awkward thing. I have a sister with disabilities, and she's a year older than me. So God allowed me to have a teacher that was born before I was born so that she could teach me every year to love everybody. And she does. But everybody doesn't have that family situation. So we try to bring in as many youth and adults in to just interact in non-threatening ways and fun ways. Geek Squad brought a drone, and they had that. Oh, that was the coolest thing in there too. They go to the strawberry. This was a wonderful day. One of our groups went to the strawberry patch, and the owner showed them which strawberries to pick. They got back, and they had a recipe that they made muffins with the strawberries. But here's the kicker. All throughout that it was, God created those strawberries. Aren't they beautiful? And then when we followed the directions on the box to make the muffins, it was, do you realize that when we follow directions, we're the best that we can be? The muffins would have been terrible if we had not followed directions. Do you imagine how bad life would be if we didn't follow the directions that God gives us? You see how everything is about teaching them about God. And there's a snake in that one picture. You notice my face is nowhere in that picture. I am so courageous that I was looking through the glass in there because I said if that thing got loose, I would meet Jesus early. He would be saying, Carlton, I didn't call you. I said, no, I'm coming. I'm not going to say. So that snake was not something I would do. We talk about peer encouragement and not peer pressure. You hear that all the time. I watched my sister go from being in a group like this, very loving group, but she's not herself. She's very pulled back. She will speak to you. She knows how to be managed. My dad was a preacher, so preachers' kids know how to act in front of people. We're pretty radical when we're not in front of people, but Anyway, she knows how to act, but I watch her become herself when she's comfortable with who she's with. So this is not a condemnation for her to be with her peers. She actually bubbles up to be a leader. She actually does things that she wouldn't do in a larger crowd. So we always do Special Olympics, and our guys are real supportive of that. Scott, in this slide, people think that our folks are just so high functioning. Scott came into our program, and right now he's not coming, and he kind of comes and goes, and I think it's more of a family situation. He came in our program that something happened, he had a mental breakdown or something. It took us 7 months to get him to roll a bowling ball one time. The kicker to the story was that before he had the little meltdown, bowling was his most favorite thing in the whole world. 7 months to get him to roll the ball one time in there. And somebody said, well, wow, that's not a lot. No, it was. You should have seen the encouragement to keep getting him to, how many times we walked him up to the lane and he wouldn't bowl, and that was fine. Every time, why don't you stand beside somebody, till he finally rolled the ball the one time. And we just erupted in screaming, and I think everybody around us thought it was a heart attack or something was going on, but anyway, that was one of those things. We do a lot of cooking with our one-on-one. You know, if you do group things, sometimes you have to be individual in what we do, so we love independence and making choices together. Next slide. We do a lot of the taking our guys out. Did you realize that most of our folks that stay at home a lot think that what they interpret as police is the what you gonna do when they come for you? I mean, have you thought about it? If that's the only window to actually meeting people, we have the police come each year and talk about safety and things like that. Do you know what the thing that they held on to the most? They brought a dog. I thought that's going to be it. You know, they love animals. Wasn't it? They brought the fast car. I thought, my guys, that's all they talk about. They talk about every year, the officer always steps up and he says, if you see me out in the public and I am not on call and I am just at a restaurant or I'm at the store getting a drink, please come talk to me. Tell me hello. That is what blows them away. Not the fast car and the dog, but somebody would actually let them walk up to them that easy and say hello. Isn't that amazing? You would think. We do the fire department. We do. We always had the fire. This is our most of our group, but they come in. They love to get on the fire truck and things like that. But we blend a lot of fire safety. Some of that goes away when they get out of school. You know, you hear that a lot when you're in school. We went to the Jeep dealership. This was my favorite, and I could get on this one, and I've got a short amount of time. I've always wanted a Jeep. And so I asked them, I said, guys, now we're not really bringing it home, but wouldn't it be fun to go buy a Jeep? And they said, yeah, we'll go. So I went up. I have to scout where we go, you know, where bathrooms are, and let the business, you know, see if the business. So the salesman, when I was talking to him about coming, he went, what are you trying to pull off here? Is this a fun outing? I said, oh no, they're going to take this seriously, and we're going to look at the sale paper and all that stuff. The salesman talked about, they actually picked 3 Jeeps. The girls went out with this 4-door red Jeep. The guys wanted this big, rugged, had big tires, and it was loud. We didn't win. But anyway, when we were through, they picked the Jeep out of the 3. They went to the finance guy, and he said the importance of paying your bills and saving your money. Our guys never hear that. We went to the mechanics, and they showed us Jeeps that had been abused and said, this is what happens if you don't take care of your stuff. When I got ready to leave, the salesman came out with tears in his eyes. He said, best sales day ever. And I thought you were just pacifying some folks with adults with disabilities. He said, I'm watching a guy in a wheelchair say, can't get that big rugged one because my mom could never get up in that thing. And he's going, I'm thinking you can't get in it. They really do have the same concerns about their families and life that we do. And we think that all cuts off just because they have a disability. All right, we're going to have to rush through so we don't run over. Bible camp, this is every year we have a Bible camp. It's a full week. We'd like to do some more Bible camps. Summers are a good time because it's kind of our volunteers are taking off and things, so it really does help us to do a Bible camp or even a day in there. People talk about being a part of the community. We have a 21-foot greenhouse that's going to come online where we'll be growing plants. 3 girls won their silver award for helping us put that up. This is community when you do it that way. So it wasn't about able to serve. It was 3 girls who got the highest award for their age that they could get by working with us to put this greenhouse up. So we're excited about the things that we're going to grow in there. This was the Garner Chamber ribbon cutting, and the reason that I show this picture is because the executive director said this was the first time that they had to take the picture of the parking lot instead of someone standing in front of the building. Our churches, our businesses came out because they see what's going on here. They see that it's a community effort. All right, next. We won the Summit Award. We were so excited about that. It's hard for a faith-based group to win anything, especially when you're competing against these big mega ones. So I was excited about that. Serving. We'll finish up with this one. Go ahead. If you've ever heard of Backpack Buddies, and people talk about Backpack Buddies, we are now, our folks, now we're partnering with the Rotary Club in Garner, but every week we go and shop, we bring it back to the church and we inventory and we shelve it, and we pack for, get ready, 140 kids every week. 140 kids. We're handling 1,000 cans and non-perishables that go in those bags, 1,000 a week now, 1,000 a week. When we took the project on last year, it was 60 in August. It hadn't been a whole year. And they said, well, if you ever get to 80, that's going to be a big thing. We're at 140. 140. We're handling about 4,000 some pieces that go to these kids, and 7 schools now come to Able to Serve to pick up their bags. That's called serving. That's called serving. We are always out. We go to rest homes and we do bingo. We found out that rest homes love to do bingo. So we do that. That was at Lee's Long-Term Care. They're closed now. We staple bulletins. Several churches we go in and do their pew pockets. Do you understand how we wipe this? It always is our folks. There's always a turnaround where it says, you can do a lot of things, but God didn't choose to make you that way so that you sit in a vacuum and you do stuff for yourself. We're not selfish. We do a lot of things for other people and there is no pay. And we tell them, there's nowhere in the scripture that says being the person that God wants you to be means that you get a paycheck. It doesn't. Our community is not great because people are paid to be the person in the community who says it's great. We all join together and we do it. Do we have paid people? Yes. But our folks don't. Now sometimes we do picnics and sometimes we do things that are fun. We do several goodie bags. We do several churches that have golf tournaments. We do their goodie bags. The Chamber of Commerce's, we do their goodie bags and things. Our guys do really good on mail-outs and things that are routine, so you can set it up, in a circle, and it's kind of a regimented kind of thing. We call our guys superheroes. We just have the greatest time. One of our guys loves Marvel Comics. David is Superman right there in the middle. He could tell you everything that the Hulk said when they started the Hulk comic books and all that stuff. So our folks get to tell the things that they want to tell about, the things that make them tick, who they are. We too much lump ourselves into, I would hope that we wouldn't want to just be church people. I would be really bored if I had to fit in the realm of somebody calling me a church person and then I had to be like you or you had to be like me. You probably wouldn't want to be like me. That's okay. But we're living life. We celebrate our Creator. How? By celebrating His creation. I love that there is nowhere in the scripture that it says God created a lot of things in His image. He said, you and me. There is nothing else. He created us in His image. And we are putting down our Creator when we put down His creation. And it's not about things that we do for people. It's not about things that we give to people. It's about people. The greatest natural resource on earth is us. Not water, not air, it's us. And I go back, and anybody that argues, I go back to the scripture and say, wait a minute, it said the only thing that I can find that says in His image is me. Is me. Isn't it wonderful? So if I'm in a wheelchair, it's still God's creation in the image of Him. It didn't change. It didn't change. My sister learns on about a first grade level, will love you to death. If anybody can show you God's love and acceptance, it's my sister. She teaches me every day. I am always processing if people love me and why. Jerry doesn't. My sister loves you. If you don't love her, it's okay. And I always think, this is what I love. God's love doesn't have any boundaries. It doesn't. She sees people look at her differently. She sees people look at her, especially when she talks, because she has a speech impediment in the grocery store and those kind of things. And I struggled with it for a lot of time, but then now I understand. Everybody hasn't had the wonderful gift of having a sister with special needs like I have. So I just pray that God one day would bless them with a sister or someone in their life that would teach them God's love like my sister teaches me.
I'm not a kid anymore.
I'm an adult who wants to matter.
And be a real part.
I want community.
I want to be independent.
And make my own decisions.
I want to make my own friends.
I want to be confident. I want to keep Lord.
I want to be a good person, and I am.
Good citizen.
I want to experience my community.
To serve others.
It's not enough just to have a safe place to spend the day.
It's not enough.
It's not enough.
That's enough.
I want more out of
Life than that.
I want more out of life than that.
The people ask, how can we help? How can we partner? The sky's the limit. The one thing that we are proud of is that we're faith-based. It means that we have folks come in our program that are Lutheran and Baptist and everything in between. But we do not accept government money. And it's not because we're anti. It's because we want to share the gospel when we want to share the gospel. So we need partners in things, and I hope that you know that if we do some partnerships, that we'll be doing as much for you, because that's the rule. We'll be doing as much for you as you'll be doing for us. But God's people need to come together, and our folks lost their way after school. I love the dojo thing. I had to read up on it this morning. But I love the idea because a lot of our folks really did feel like after they got out of high school, things just stopped for them. It just stopped. And we don't want that. We want them living life. We want them to love people. We want them to feel independence. We want them to know that they're a meaningful part of the community. And we can't do it without having folks that allow us to be a part of other things in there. So I encourage you to not see us as a charity, but as this dynamic partner that's just going to open up things that we can do for you just as much as you being a part would be for us. We're the body of Christ, and we need to act that way. So I'm appreciative for getting a chance to speak to you, the chambers and things, but I love to speak to churches. Chambers are things you have to do. You play the game. You have to speak to organizations. You play the game. But this is home for me. Church is home. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.